Hey tankers, and welcome to Westfield, where we are following MerryTurnipDay of the Lemon Clan in his Tier 8 Premium Italian Medium Tank, the Progetto 46. He's got his back to the wall here a little bit right out the gate because he is bottom tiered, but fortunately he has come prepared. He's gone straight to the APCR, which will give him 259mm of penetration instead of the 212 that you get with the standard AP rounds. We're in encounter mode, so one of the key positions here is where's my, if I can get my cursor, yeah, there we are. Is this flag in the middle here. So being able to set up your crossfires becomes quite important. Being able to get into the right position is also important and becomes a bit of an emotionally charged issue for the T44, evidently. The real enemy, on the other hand, has made a concerted push for the cap. They have two tanks in there working the cap. And we can see our friendly Future 4 is making a play to try and light them up. They now have three enemy tanks in the cap circle, which is potentially going to be a bit problematic for Merry's team, with appears to be a fourth tank also pulling up into the central cap circle. Future 4 hasn't been able to do too much damage as well, so something will have to give, or this will be a very short game. But it would appear that the enemy tanks have seen red. We can see the Barask and the Batchat 25 TAP and the enemy STA1 have decided to fall off the cap, and two of those tanks have decided to YOLO up the valley, chasing down Yen's 2K1 in his Future 4. The Barask takes a bit of a beating, as does the Batchat 25 TAP, and Merry's able to shut him down. The T44, who took exception to MerryTurnipDay's driving earlier, appears to have been taken out by enemy gunfire, and that just leaves the Barask now also joining his friend Batchat 25 TAP in suicidal charges back up the valley. There's quite a vicious crossfire developing between Merry's position and these tanks on the around sort of K5, K6. We can see we've been able to restore a semblance of control on the cap. We're not quite sure what they have left there at the moment, but Merry's team has a Defender and a GSAW 1008 there, so they'll probably be more than capable of dealing with what appears to be just other Tier 8 enemy tanks that might be trying to hold that position. So to this end, Merry goes and looks for new targets. We can see a T34 has sort of developed its way into the town, and he was trying to get some crossfire in on his teammates. I believe he's just landed a hit on the T30, but fortunately Merry's able to capitalise on this. He's poked out, the gun's been pointed in the wrong direction, but there was a 7032-122 waiting for him, who was able to get a shot into Merry. We can also see the enemy tank destroyers have also appeared in here, so vacating that position would probably be a wise idea for Merry. The last thing you want is a large caliber shell sort of screaming in from the T30 or the Object 268 version 4. Although to be fair, they were probably a little more preoccupied with what was going on in those hills around C3, C4. So our drum magazine is fully reloaded now, and we're just waiting on that T34 to make an appearance. Looking around. We can probably assume a player like Merry has got a reasonably decent crew and equipment loadout on this tank, so he should be able to outspot something like a T34 with relative ease. And we get a second shot in, and unfortunately, we sort of stick to our average damage there. Unfortunately, he's not quite able to high roll it to send the T34 back to the garage this time, and unfortunately takes another hit from the Object 703-703-122. In the process, it's sort of had that town area covered, so he's on less than half health at the moment. So we'll have to try to play a little more cautiously, a little more opportunistically at this point. We can see the enemy EBR 105 has been trying to exert some initiative on the cap, but ultimately fails there, and now it is Merry's team that is now controlling the countdown timer. So that side of the map looks pretty well okay. We're controlling the cap. We've We've got more than enough tanks on the K line, and quite frankly, Merry's having the time of his life here, getting a couple of vengeance shots into that 7032-122 that was giving him a bit of a hard time earlier in the game. So just waiting to reload our drum before moving on. The thing about the auto reloaders is while you have the luxury of being able to fire off a shot without having to wait for a full magazine reload, your DPM suffers quite tragically. So if you ever get something like an Italian heavy tank or Italian medium tank like Progetto 46 or Basonte or Rinoceronte, and it ends up doing a clip dump on you or one of your teammates, that is a really good opportunity to sort of charge in, because the damage per minute ends up suffering terribly, and they just for all the shots that you're putting into them, it's not quite able to get shells back in the tube quickly enough to counter you. So have a look at your hit points, have a look at their hit points, and make a call as to whether pushing in and trying to brawl with it is a sensible choice under the circumstances. You can see our enemy object 705A having a bit of a hard time here. It was wrapped up by the T110E3 and the T100LT. And that pretty well clears out the hill, and has put MerryTurnipDay's team in very much an advantageous position. They now control the cap circle. The defenders still sort of letting that clock tick away. They are 7 guns up and appear to have maybe a 50% advantage on hit points at the moment. So very strong position for MerryTurnipDay's team to be in right now. It would take a phenomenal mistake to turn things for the worse at this point in time. So they lose their T58 Mutz at the T100LT, and MerryTurnipDay round on the enemy T30. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to get that last hit in, but the T30, last we saw it, was on a one shot, and the T100LT is able to take care of that one. So tightening the noose on the enemy team now. We appear to have a couple of enemy tanks sort of bunkered in K0. Ideally, they would have been looking for opportunities to sort of shoot at the cap circle and get some resets, but unfortunately, in order to do that, you kind of need eyes in the game watching that area. Speaking of eyes, 1246 spotting damage to MerryTurnipDay just for poking up and eyeballing that Conway. I guess that STA1 probably should have been the eyes for the enemy team there, and been able to assist the Conway in doing some damage on Merry's team on cap, but didn't seem to quite work out for them this time. 2 enemy tanks left in the game. We've got a Brask. We get 1 shot, 2 shots, and someone else manages to land an ammo racking hit. And that's both tanks, both enemy tanks, the last 2 enemy tanks taken out of the game, and victory to MerryTurnipDay. Let's take a look at those results. So a solid effort from MerryTurnipDay here in his Tier 8 Premium Italian Medium Tank Progetto 46. He's come away with an Ace Mastery badge, as well as 3 of these Epic Battle Heroes medals. We've had Confederate, where he's been able to hit more enemy vehicles than any other player on the team, and that requires you to hit a minimum of 6. And these are tanks that are ultimately end up being destroyed by your teammates instead of yourself. So it's indicative of a medium tank working its DPM role and just trying to spit the fire down range. I've also got the High Caliber Award, which is where he's taken account of at least 20% of the enemy hit points on this occasion, and of course Tanker Sniper, where he's caused the highest damage per battle at ranges exceeding 300 meters, with a base dispersion of 0.32 on the 90mm gun of the Progetto 46. It's not a bad tank to be doing it with either. Flicking over to the we've still got a few other medals here between the spotter for enabling allies to cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage in the battle, and we saw he picked up 1,200 spotting damage alone just by peeking the ridge towards the end in the cleanup phase and identifying the enemy Conway. We've got Bruiser for causing damage to modules and crew members at least 5 times in the battle. The Fighter Badge for destroying 4 to 5 enemy vehicles, and we see he's taken 4 heads this battle. And of course Fire for Effect, where you do at least the hit points of your vehicle, which with over 5,300 damage inflicted, I would suggest he's more than smashed that. Looking at the team scores, we have a very well-deserved top placement by XP. He's more than doubled the next tank behind him in the T100 LT, and I guess that's a side effect of being bottom tiered, but still causing damage to higher tiered opponents. I mean, look at this. We've got the K91, the 268, the Conway 705A. Baraska's same tier, 25 TAP, that's a tier 9, T30, T9. Yeah, so quite a few of the enemy tanks that he's engaged have been at higher tiers, and that contributes very nicely to your XP score, as well as, you know, having that sort of order of damage and kills attributed to yourself. Accuracy has been on point. There haven't been too many wasted shots here. In fact, he's hit with all but 1 of his shots, with penetrating with 23 out of the 29 shots taken. Absolutely amazing credit haul here. Granted, he was using a credit booster here. Might have been a clown booster or something like that. But either way, we've come away with 250,000 of credits. Fair bit of gold fired in that round, although you tend to expect that when you're loading in, and most of the enemy tanks that you're facing happen to be a tier or 2 above, so that's understandable. And we've still come away with 150,000 credits, which even without that personal reserves bonus, that still would have been a 70,000 credit game. So well done to MerryTurnipDay of the Lemon Clan. And if you'd like to see one of your replays featured on World of Tanks with PR154, please reach out over Discord or at any of the links below, and we'll do our best to sort you out. In the meantime, take care out there.